Crypto for Newbies. So this presentation is really intended for people that are new to crypto. Sorry, just moving you, hope no one feels too seasick. So we're assuming people on this call, whether you're watching now or you're watching on Listen Again, are fairly new. We do record all our presentations that we upload to our Facebook and other social media channels, so you will be able to listen again. For those of you that are listening live, I have muted you all off just for background noise. There's a chat function. If you go to the bottom of the screen, there'll be a strip at the bottom. You can say chat. So feel free to comment as I'm speaking. If you've got any questions, feel free to write them down. And there'll also be a bit of an opportunity at the end for Q&A. So I'm just going to share my screen. So hopefully this works. This is one of the challenges of being a tech firm, that really we need everything to work instantaneously. So it's late in the UK. I've had a 12-hour day, so hopefully it's all going to work. I'm not using my normal computer, so hopefully that all comes together. Could I have a thumbs up if you can see some slides? Thank you very much. Just making sure you're all still awake. So look, I'm going to talk for about 15, maybe 20 minutes about crypto, and then we'll have an opportunity for Q&A at the end. So look, a quick disclaimer, this presentation does not constitute financial advice, trading advice or any other sort of advice. It's purely background information about crypto as a marketplace and a bit of information about what we do at Dacxi as an exchange. So in the next 15 or 20 minutes or so, we're going to cover the basics of crypto, how you can make money, which is what most people want that we encounter, what to avoid, because as we know, there's a lot going on in the industry, which is bizarre. Where we feel we're at in the investment cycle. Dacxi puts out a lot of analysis, so we have a very strong message about where we feel we are right now and how you're able to get involved. So look, it's not my intention to bring you on so late in the evening in the UK to depress you massively, but I just want to give you a couple of slides on background. I think it talks about where we are right now as a nation. And also talks about some of the things we hear our platform users saying and why lots of people are getting interested in crypto. So as you know, we're in some very, very funny times at the moment. Coronavirus has obviously been a phenomenal short, sharp shock to our economy. It's likely to be the biggest hit in living memory. And even the initial hit from coronavirus, the initial shock, saw about 25% wiped off the FTSE 100. So bearing in mind the FTSE 100 is the value of the top 100 companies that are traded in the UK, it's a great health check for the UK economy. And of course, many of our financial products are based on it, be they pensions, lots of savings products and what have you. So I'm afraid this presentation is a few weeks old. I initially wrote that they reckon that 5 trillion has been wiped off our global economy. It's probably closer to 9. So we actually do a great webinar called Crypto and Coronavirus, which looks a lot more closely at what we believe is happening as a result of coronavirus and a result of the recession. And actually, what's really interesting is when we started talking a week or 10 days after coronavirus and we were making some predictions, you can find these online on these webinars that we record, everything that we predicted was happen actually did. So that's been phenomenal. So if you haven't sought out that presentation, do seek it out either online or on the update that we do every week or 10 days. So look, a quick wander through what we see as the landscape for cash right now. I looked up on Money Supermarket, which is a well-known UK website, a couple of weeks ago, what sort of return you would get on cash. So you may have seen the Bank of England has cut the interest rates to a historic 0.1. That's the lowest interest rate we've ever had since the Bank of England was created all those hundreds of years ago. So the best rate I could find online for a savings account that I could access was 1.3%. And the ONS, which stands for the Office of National Statistics, which is an independent body which comes up with data, so no politician can skew it, says that inflation is currently at 1.8 and likely to increase. Now, some analysts are talking about us seeing negative interest rates in the UK. So that's actually the first time that would have been seen in my lifetime. So just to be clear, you will be writing the bank a check in order for them to keep your money safe. Now, hopefully most people know that when you put money in the bank, they don't sit on it, they loan it out in a variety of financial products. And actually for every £1 they sit on, they're able to lend out multiples, not just the money they have sitting on deposit. So for that reason, we talked to lots of people that are now looking to switch some of their cash into crypto. One of the things we talked to lots of people about is what's going on with property prices. There's definitely been a sense in the UK that over a prolonged period of time, house prices went up. So lots of property investors were really happy. And of course, people were really confident that the home that they live in would go up in value. And often the metric used was, oh, you know, it doubles every 7 to 10 years. And that certainly was true over a prolonged period of time. So, of course, we had a massive recession in 2008, the general financial recession, the big crash, and we didn't see property prices in the UK recover until late 2014, early 2015. And across the last 5 years, that growth has been pretty stagnant. Buy-to-let deposits are enormous. Financing is increasingly difficult, even more so now since coronavirus. In the southeast, where I'm phoning from this evening, you'll be looking at £50,000 to £60,000 to get into buy-to-let. And the average customers that use a Dacxi platform tend to be putting a little bit less, typically between about £3,000 and £10,000 on the platform. So often people that wouldn't be able to participate in buy-to-let. And also I think there's a real sense that those buy-to-let rental yields are dropping substantially. So I think historically, you know, people look to make good money from rental property. They were relying on the capital growth. And a recent poll sort of post-coronavirus showed that when they looked at about 1,000 renters, they reckon that 40% will struggle to pay their rent in the coming months, which of course has a knock-on effect on landlords. So look, I just want to give you some background information on crypto. So it's often said that crypto has been the best performing asset on the face of the planet in the last year or so. It's certainly true that since the coronavirus shock that the cryptos have recovered harder, faster and better than the traditional vanilla assets. So we go into a lot more detail around this on our crypto and coronavirus presentation. But of course, it's true to say that it has done extremely well. So I put some figures together a couple of weeks ago. The FTSE 100 over a month had gone down 27%. Bitcoin had gone up nearly 45%. And the Dacxi, which is our community coin, had gone up 350%. So you can go and do your own homework onto this, but for that reason, lots of people that historically would not have considered crypto are now looking to switch some of their cash into crypto and embrace some of those assets. Now, the reason why gold is in there is because during a serious recession, people panic, they sell, and they go for the safe havens. And the safe havens are typically cash and gold. Now, you'll hear Bitcoin, who is the poster child for the cryptos, time and time again referred to as digital gold. So there's a lot of analysis around where the price for Bitcoin is going. We as a company put out a good amount. And you'll also see many other commentators. I'm just looking at my Coinbase account for today, which I'm a bit of a nerd for looking at. So I know that Bitcoin, as we speak, is trading at just over £5,500 per Bitcoin. So what we actually saw is during the recession, lots of people moved to Bitcoin as a way of protecting themselves against some of the losses that they were encountering. And we often see that Bitcoin and gold move nicely together. So not all of this analysis where people talk about Bitcoin seeing a 10 or 20% gain in the next 12 to 18 months is based on a lot of the market that would traditionally use gold starts to switch to Bitcoin. Now, even if only a couple of percent of the global appetite for gold switches to Bitcoin, that would have a huge inflationary effect on the price of Bitcoin. And indeed, we've seen even over the last couple of months, the overall trend for that is up. So look, if you're at the beginning of your journey into looking at cryptos, Bitcoin is a really interesting concept to be looking at and investigating. And all this research that's put out both from Dacxi and externally about that price increase is based on what's called the use case. So under what circumstances can it be used? And as something which will replace gold is often talked about. So I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about blockchain. I actually get quite annoyed when I see people trying to make blockchain sound really difficult and really complicated. So blockchain is the foundation of cryptocurrencies, and it's very simply a new type of database, and it underpins the cryptocurrencies. So blockchain simply, rather than being held on one server, blockchain is held across all the users and sometimes referred to as distributed ledger technology. Try saying that after a 12-hour day. And of course has many, many applications across different industries. So as you can see from this graphic, which came from Forbes, it can be used across anything from healthcare to agriculture to supply chain to infrastructure, huge numbers of different applications. And of course, we see making some phenomenal gains already with some of the world's biggest brands. So certainly technology that's here to stay. I talk to people each and every day that invested in the cryptocurrencies 3 or 4 years ago. Of course, we're taking a massive leap of faith. It wasn't really proven technology. Blockchain's been around since the early 90s, but actually people struggle to really find too many ways to actually use it. So right now today, we see that blockchain as a technology has very much got its feet under the table. And I think those early investors very much were early adopters. The kinds of people that use our platform now today are really looking to take advantage of technology, which is here to stay. And one of the examples I often use, I'm sure a number of you are sitting there this evening next to a smartphone. If someone had said to me 5 or 10 years ago, your smartphone will hold all your emails, all your messages, your sports apps, your fitness apps, your shopping, your banking, your kids' games, the news, I'm looking through all my various apps, frankly, you'd laugh at them because it was so bizarre that you'd have more power on your phone today than you had multiple times than you had on a desktop 10 years ago. So we very much see Bitcoin and all the other cryptos as technology, which is very much making great gains. So I suppose the question that anyone new to the industry is probably asking, is crypto real? Is it here to stay? And does it make sense? And of course, if you're going to start buying into the cryptos, we very much promote the blue chip cryptos, which are Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, as coins that we really believe in. And we like to do the homework on behalf of our platform users so they can make an educated decision. So I think when we start looking at some of the companies that are getting involved, there's no point buying these currencies if you can't spend them anywhere. You've got to have a valid and enthusiastic marketplace. So I just want to run through some of the brands that are getting involved. So MasterCard is working on crypto wallet projects. Visa, you can already pay in crypto via their relationship with Coinbase, and they've actually invested in crypto startups. I'm just going to mute off whoever is making background noise. Sorry, once guys. So PayPal obviously is a very well-known payment business. They are active in 200 separate countries, and they've actually been applying for patents in this space. eBay came out last year and said that they were looking to accept Bitcoin as a method of payment. And via Fold, you can today use it at Amazon, Starbucks, and Uber. So look, those are some of the world's biggest brands which are embracing this technology. And frankly, they're not doing it for the love of it. They're doing it because they know it's the future, and the cost of updating their platforms, as you can imagine, is substantial. So one of the things we talk about when we look at what we fear will be the next big growth period for the prices of these various cryptos is what we call the institutional boom. So up until now, there's been a lot of sort of private investors speculating and making money. We're now looking at some really big institutional investors getting into the marketplace, and there's loads of ways they're able to do that now through some of the big infrastructure projects. So they're what we call the big boys. So you might have heard of the World Economic Forum. They meet once a year in Davos. There's about 3,000 of the world's top political leaders and business owners, and they meet to talk about the global economy. So the argument for the cryptocurrencies is not based on what's happening in the UK or what's happening in the States. It's about providing a better infrastructure that we can all use. So the meeting in Davos last year, they looked at who was getting involved in this space. And they reflected on the fact that blockchain could solve a number of long-standing problems in our infrastructure. They also reported that there were a number of banks with active blockchain projects, including our own Bank of England, who of course sets our interest rates and prints our money, the European Central Bank, and there's a lot of talk about in China they're looking to digitize their currencies. So it's likely that even if you don't personally invest in the cryptos, it's likely that we're using a digitized currency in the near future. Indeed, the Bank for International Settlements, which is the organization owned by central banks, so that is the organization of the world's central banks, said that 80% of members they surveyed were engaged in working around digital currencies. So very much technology which is here and doing well. So look, I think it's important to look at some of those big players As I said, the typical user on our platform is choosing to switch a couple of £1,000 into crypto. And one of the things we talk a lot about is that crypto solves problems. So as I said, blockchain's been around since the 90s, so it's certainly not new technology. But the fact that people are now very much adopting it, and the sort of quality and size of the people that are involved is phenomenal. So it has to solve problems. So recently there was a $1.1 billion transaction in Bitcoin, which was the largest transaction to date for that particular network. And that cost less than $1. So it cost 68 cents to send 1.1 billion. So very much the argument for crypto is that it's a quicker, more efficient, cheaper way of moving money. So unsurprisingly, blockchain has caught the attention of some of the world's biggest financial businesses. BlackRock is a good example of that. That's the world's largest asset manager. They have just shy of $7 trillion under management. No other business manages more money. Citi and JP Morgan are tier 1 banks. DTCC, which stands for the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, clears the vast majority of security transactions in the US, and it close to 1.7 quadrillion in value worldwide, makes it by far the highest value financial processor in the world. Another thing which is interesting is that you'll actually see a lot of the infrastructure businesses really adopting this. So Fidelity is involved. There was also recently one of the world's largest and best known hedge funds, which is called the Medallion Fund. It's got nearly 10 billion under management, is also looking to add cash settled Bitcoin futures. So obviously those businesses are awash with people that are world-renowned economists and paid millions of pounds a year, that are paid to know what technology is coming in and clearly very much embracing. So this little graph comes from an ebook that we released about a month ago called The Crypto Boom. It's an ebook. You can find it online on our website, or talk to the person that invited you to the webinar, and they'll ping you a link for it. So we talk about the direction of travel for those blue chip cryptos, excuse me. And you'll see, of course, the general direction of travel very much is north. You'll also see that we believe that every single time there's been a boom, there has been a correction afterwards. But as you'll see, every single one, of course, every single high thereafter is greater than the previous one. So we feel that's very good news just for general direction of travel. We talk a lot about these institutional investors. And we also look at the volumes that are being traded. So the daily volumes, if you do some research, that is absolutely great. We know that tens of billions of dollars of Bitcoin are traded every day. So if I go and buy my, 10 or 20,000 pounds worth of Bitcoin tomorrow morning, I want to know that there's a market as and when I want to sell it. So look, please do call out that particular ebook. It's only about a 15-20 minute read. It will give you a lot more information about why not only Dacxi and lots of other people feel there's a 10 or 20-fold increase to be had across those blue chip cryptos. One of the things that's been very interesting to me personally, having joined Dacxi in the last couple of months, is that we're often asked for press commentary. So I've recently written an article called Why COVID Killed Cash. That went out in the Global Banking Review. I write for FinTech magazine, and pretty much every couple of days someone phones us and says, actually we want some crypto commentary in the press, please can you help us? Which obviously is a great sign that the information we're putting out is accurate and well respected. So look, why crypto? This slide is a few weeks old. We're now actually seeing around 5,300 cryptocurrencies available. They range from the ridiculous to the sublime. All sorts of people are releasing cryptos every day. And of course, we are very focused on whether those have a long-term use and a long-term plan. So really, we're focused on the three blue chip cryptos. We're one of the first businesses to talk about that. So that's Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. And generally, they account for well over half of all traded volume. So we're not really interested in those smaller, very niche coins. We're very much interested in the ones that we feel have a good potential runway. So look, I just want to talk to you about Dacxi as a business. We are a digital asset exchange. So that means that you can use our platform to buy, hold, and exchange crypto. One of the things that's very different about us is we are retail specific. So we are not really focused on the people that want to trade. There's a couple of various exchanges which really look to encourage people to trade every single day and get involved and, you know, learn to be a trader. And that's not really what our platform users are after. They're typically after holding for 6, 12, maybe 18 months. And again, a lot of the analysis we put out is that, of course, as prices rise, that's really interesting. And we're the only platform that has the level and quality of education that we put out. It's always free. We always try to make it available at good times of day, or to record the presentations that we put out. So please do engage with as much as you can through us. And we also want to provide absolutely brilliant client service. So we have one of the largest client services teams per user of any crypto business. And we also have a great heritage. Our founder has actually already listed 2 companies on the LSE. And I think as and when we list, that will make us one of the first crypto businesses to do so. So we're very focused and upfront with our ambition to do that. And of course, we have some very aggressive plans, both in the UK and globally. So right now we have operations in Brazil, the UK, Australia, New Zealand and Singapore, and of course with lots of plans to you know, go elsewhere. So look, one of the things that we are very focused on is our security rating. If you're going to start holding your assets online, it's very important to look at the security ramifications of that. I'm old enough to remember when both telephone banking and online banking came on in the UK, and people were obviously very worried about the security and what have you. So Mozilla Observatory, I'm afraid there's probably too many people on this call for me to flip in and out of it, but it's an independent view of security. We have a higher security rating than any of the other platforms, which we're very proud of. And if you look at any of the other high street banks, I bank with Halifax, that has an F rating. I put MBNA in, that similarly has a dreadful rating. Most of the high street banks are rated anywhere between C and F. So again, a really key thing to look at. There's a really good webinar tutorial knocking around actually on how you can use that. So Dacxi, as a business, we have 2 separate things that the platform does. We have a blue chip bundle, which is really popular, particularly in the UK. So anyone that uses the platform, when they put money on the platform, would have it distributed as 50% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum, 10% Litecoin, and 20% Daccoin. You might recall that earlier on I was talking about the 300% increase that Daccoin has seen. There's also a 10% incentive right now, which is running, which is proving really popular. And I think it's worth saying that people that have used the bundle would have seen around 100% outperformance of just a pure Bitcoin over the last year, which is wonderful. And really that's only people that want to diversify across the various coins, but don't necessarily want to get too involved with the research and looking into each one. The other thing we've got is a DAC pack, which is our community coin. That is particularly popular for people that are looking for a strong growth potential. Probably don't have time to talk about this evening, but Dacxi's long-term view is to be a crowd crypto business, and the DAC coin will be the community coin to enable us to do that. And like I say, the people that have historically invested in DAC coin have seen 300% plus growth, and we're also due a 10% price increase on the DAC coin on the 5th of May. So look, I'm just drawing into my last 2 slides. I'm conscious that I'm slightly over on time. So the buying process is super easy. You set up an account online. Obviously, being fully online has been great for us during the lockdown, which obviously is very frustrating to everybody. So we are regulated in Europe, and of course we're under the FCA's requirements for what's called KYC, Know Your Client, which is an anti-money laundering requirement. So you're required under the FCA to provide proof of ID, which is photographic, and proof of address that's uploaded via your smartphone via a photo. You can then fund your account and then sit back and enjoy. So the great thing is that it looks just like an online banking app. You can look at it whenever you like. You can look once a day, once a month, 10 times a day, and you can see how your portfolio is performing. And more importantly, you can sell. So across those 3 blue chip coins, should you see there's been some great growth, we saw 30% in a month recently. We've also had people then look to exit just because they want the liquidity and obviously want the flexibility. So look, next steps, please engage with learning. This session obviously is intended for people that are coming in from the ground floor really. So hopefully it's been an interesting skip through what crypto can provide. I think crypto is one of those things that you can look in online and just disappear down a black hole really quickly. But equally, I think people that are into it are evangelical. We very much feel that it is the new wave of disruption. We feel that particularly in what's happened in the world in the last month or so, it represents a phenomenal opportunity to provide new and better global infrastructure, which is something we've been saying for the 18 months that Dacxi has been open and trading. So loads of free resources. Please do engage. We've got crypto ebooks. We've got loads of webinars online. We broadcast very regularly. And obviously talk to the person that introduced you to Dacxi. So look, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now. I don't think I saw much come up in the chat function. So I will stop sharing and open the floor to any questions. There's 17 of you, so hopefully someone has a question. Feel free to write in the chat if you're feeling shy. If you prefer to speak, please feel free just to unmute yourself and fire away.
Just a quick one. Sorry. It's like everywhere you're looking now, there's just so much negativity in the news about the future of money,
Sure.
Specifically our money. With what's happening with crypto, there's obviously going to be some really big growth when it's quantitative easing process or when the banks are printing money. That's going to flow into crypto, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. So interestingly, the US obviously is a little bit ahead of us. I'm going to talk about the UK because most people on this call are UK based. So the US is a little bit ahead of us. So their bailout money has started to trickle through. And they reckon that a large proportion of people that have received US bailout money have spent it on crypto, which is fantastic. So I think that, look, there's a huge amount of money being printed at the moment to underpin what's truly dreadful. The bailouts that the governments worldwide are having to put together is essentially printing money, which is not great from sort of an inflation perspective. So we talk a lot more in our crypto and coronavirus presentation about this. But I think it's been bizarre for me. We actually had a record month in March, which is phenomenal given what happened. And we're actually full of good news. And we certainly don't want to be insensitive. There's, coronavirus is dreadful for everybody. I actually have 3 people, not in my family, but in my network, who've actually passed away from coronavirus. So it's causing a lot of pain, but I think it's got great opportunity for crypto. We talk about this a lot more in our crypto and coronavirus. There's huge opportunity, I think, and I really feel it's great for crypto as an industry. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Very good. Gavin, did you have a question? I'm conscious that Squid rudely jumped in on you.
No, that's all right. I was just going to share something with everybody.
Sure.
For those of you who don't know me, I've been with the Dacxi since inception. And a lot of my friends have invested in it and doing well. I've just had an email this evening. This is somebody who I know who has investments in other
platforms,
company,
okay.
Another investment company, which is known to us all because they were famous, because there was a man from that company that was always talked about. Did 100,000 in August. In September, it was worth £562 extra. In December, 101,218. March, 91,910. So
wow.
far, she's lost 10 grand.
Gosh.
Now, hold on, cash in penalty, because she phoned me in a panic tonight. She is an investor with Dacxi, but not to that extent. Cash-in penalty up to August 2020, 10% of the initial. So that's leaves her, if she cashed it in, and I'm trying to cash in the mortgage because I don't a property because I don't want it anymore. I want the money to Dacxi, and of course they're charging me about 8 to 10 grand because I'm taking it out before. But you know, it's better to do it. But that means to get her money back, she's going to have to pay 20 grand.
Wow.
So she's going to get 80 back, 81 back.
And is that on a sort of a traditional investment?
I don't know what. So I just thought that as an observation.
Yeah, sure. And that's, sorry, that's something in crypto or that's a traditional investment?
That's a traditional investment.
Yeah, sure.
She's
and
lost.
Look, yeah.
Tons.
Yeah, and look, you know, we talk a lot more about this in the crypto and coronavirus presentation. You look at Ethereum's done 20% in the last month. And look, people need good news right now. We're not in the business of giving investment advice, but I know that the people that we talk to each and every day are worried about stock market, they're worried about property, they're worried about cash interest rates, and they need some good news. And that is really the reason why people often are switching out of what's vanilla, and particularly cash, and switching some of that into crypto. And look, I think crypto traditionally has been, you know, 4 years ago was such a leap of faith. It was so unproven. You know, there weren't really palatable ways of getting involved with it. And we want to be the #1 company to help people learn about it. So all this research that we put out, all the webinars that we do, all the educational assets on our website are all free. You know, you can engage with them, you can make yourself feel comfortable and just educate yourself. I think the only message I always have is educate yourself and find out more about it, because I'm afraid if you don't, you're going to get left behind on that. And one of the things people say all the time is, oh, you know, is it too late? Have I missed the boat? And I say, well, look, people that came on 4 years ago have made thousands of %, but they took a much greater risk. And loads of the research now is that there is, you know, a 10 or 20-fold increase to be had in Bitcoin over the next couple of years. And we're part of that dialogue. You know, we very much promote that. And look, people that were talking to us a month ago are now 30% up, which is fantastic. You know, we're really proud of that. It's just nice to have good news.
Basically, Catherine, she just asked for help, that's all. Okay,
very good. And do you know what her Dacxi platform funds have done in the meantime?
Not offhand.
That would be a really good thing to compare. Or if you just give me, I don't know who you're talking about. She would predate me being involved with Dacxi, but it'd be really good to compare. You know, if she's lost that much on traditional stuff, you know, what she's managed to achieve through Dacxi.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll find that out. But it was just a bit of a panic phone call tonight.
Yeah, sure. So look, I think it's important to understand that there is some volatility. I know. Sorry, I've just had a question come in over WhatsApp from someone listening who says they've got a problem with their screen freezing. So there is volatility in crypto, and I want to just acknowledge that. One of the reasons that we are not a trading business is that we feel that crypto is much more interesting on a sort of longer term basis, you know, 6, 12, 18-month basis. And look, people do cash out. You know, it's a very flexible platform. You can see, you know, that Ethereum has had a good run, and you can say, actually, you know what, I came into Dacxi, but the 20% increase over a month is phenomenal. I want out. That's fine. You can do that. But I think most of the people that use our platform are really looking to hold for, as I say, that 6, 12, 18-month period. And I think one of the things that we are absolutely certain of is that inflation is going to be rampant. There's just no way, in terms of what's happened in the UK, that it won't be. The government's printing money. There's no way that taxes won't go up. You know, all these billions are going into the economy to bail us out. You know, someone's got to pay for that. And I think one of the things we try and talk about in that crypto and coronavirus is this is not the first recession. We had one in 97 and 2000 and 2008. But the challenge right now is there's no historical comparable for how quickly it's hit us. So we're all kind of guessing in the dark a little bit. And I think our message when we go through that presentation is that, you know, there's great opportunity. You know, there's huge opportunity in extraordinary circumstances. yeah, crypto already has done very well. We expected it to, and it did. And obviously, we're being asked for press comment all the time about why that's happened. For the Global Banking and Finance Review to be printing, whatever it is, 700-800 words that I put together on a rainy Tuesday afternoon because they're just not educated to this asset class, I think tells its own story, really. Good stuff. Well, look.
Hi, I have a question.
Hi, Dominique. Hi.
Can you tell us? Hi. When is that webinar, the crypto and Corona webinar, going to be?
Do you know? So I will just put in the comments box the Dacxi events page. So I'm trying to multitask, and girls are supposed to be able to. So we haven't announced it yet. We try and run it every 10 days. So there will be one next week. I'm not sure what day. So keep an eye on our events webpage. And they're always promoted there. So we actually probably broadcast once a day at least across various different topics, whether it's the beginners or crypto and coronavirus or Dacxi ecosystem. There's huge amounts of content out there. So yeah, in the next 7 to 10 days, you will see one of those. So very much recommended viewing.
Dominique, there is a recording of it somewhere. So if you can't wait till it comes out again, there is a recording of it. I'm not quite sure where it is, but there's a couple of them around. But all the webinars have been recorded.
Yeah, sure.
You can come at any time.
Yeah, I think just to be convenient for access. Obviously, the great thing about today is that you get access to experts, and you can hear what we're saying and ask us questions. They're always online, and of course, as we present, we update them. Myself and Squid, who's on the line, we present daily. We're always swapping ideas or things that we've seen in the press. We also present very differently, which is great. Squid has a slightly longer career. Squid's been investing in crypto for 4 or 5 years. Is that right, Squid? Something like that. 5. Sorry, don't want to undersell your last year. So Squid has been in crypto longer than I have. I would say I'm probably more data driven. So we have a number of people that speak within our business about crypto that all have slightly different strengths and skill sets. So very much recommend that you listen to what we all have to say. The other thing I want to just flag, sorry, which again, someone's just pinged me a private question of. So we have a price increase on the Dacxi happening on the 5th of May, UK time. And I also just want to flag that there is what's called the Bitcoin halving, sometimes called the halvening. Don't know why for the extra consonant. So the way that Bitcoin is put together is there are a limit of 21 million Bitcoins available in totality by the persons that put it together. And they are created by what's called miners helping create them. So the reward for them doing so will half shortly. That will be at some point in May, like to be the middle of May. And we believe that the constriction of the supply, obviously be less reward for doing it, will cause a price increase. And actually, historically, that has very much been the case. You look at what happened, it's generally every 4 years. So it's related on to the amount of Bitcoin which is mined. So typically that's been every 4 years. I'm just looking for the figure. I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. So the last time this happened, so the first time in 2012, prices went up by 8,000%, which is phenomenal, in the following year. And in 2016, in July, again, there was another halvening. It went up by 284% over the following year. So just, again, 2 things to sort of throw into your thinking when you're making some strategy around crypto, and particularly around what Dacxi does.